Hello, I think we are live. I'm just going to check. Let me see. Yep, I think we are. I know this is just the start of the chat, so there won't be many people here at the moment, but if anyone can hear me, and also let me know if the audio and video is in sync, because I had to do a bit of tinkering to get this to work. If someone could let me know, that would be amazing. Anyone, any takers? Any takers? Suppose I can actually check this myself. Anyone, any takers? Okay, audio seems to be working. Alright. This is more like a sort of test stream than anything else, just to see how all of this will actually work. We'll see how it goes, and then hopefully be able to do more streams as time goes on. So let me see. I've got some Kolchak the Night Stalker playing in the background. You can't. I hope you. But you might be able to hear some of it. It's on my broken television. My TV broke. Nightmare. It's like the top of the screen's all got lines on it. I tried to open it up and fix it, but to no avail. So I need to get a new television apparently. Right. This is a Halloween mask. You can see inside it. This isn't for me, it's for my daughter. It's for her Halloween and Halloween dance at school. So I started making this a little bit ago, and it's the dance is on. When is it? It's on this Thursday coming, so I really need to get the whole thing finished. So this is me starting to work on this. It's made, not starting to work on it, but continuing to work on it. It's made out of paper mache and then stuff called paper clay that you make and you put on top of it. It's the first time I've ever done anything with paper clay before. I've used paper mache for stuff plenty of times. I made a robot suit last year, a pink robot suit with red eyes for my daughter, and it was lovely. And she won best competition, which was really nice. But I told her that probably won't happen this year. But it was really nice for her because she's quite shy. So it was lovely for that to happen for her. Oh, shut up, Callum, shut up. So this is just a test. I don't know how long I'm going to stream for. I could stream for hours. I could stream for an hour. We'll just wait to see. Hello, Fracas, and hello to Canada as well. I'd love to go to Canada one day. I don't like to fly. I think I could get there by boat. I think. So what I have to do so far is I started painting this. I did an undercoat of what's called a wash, which is like watered down paint, and it was a primer first and then a wash underneath it to bring out some of the details, and then I started putting the pumpkin coloured paint on as well. The other things, hello Meat Juice, feels like Christmas, Merry Christmas. So I was really ill today, so this is why I'm starting, which is late for me to be starting live streaming. So I had a terrible migraine. It's managed to lift, so I might fall over my words quite a bit because that's part of when I have a migraine. So if you think I'm a little bit off, don't worry. There's nothing wrong with me. It's all fine. It's all good. Right. So what we're going to do is I've got this pumpkin coloured paint. So I'm going to finish off some of, I feel like Bob Ross. Hello everyone. I'm going to finish off some of these bits because I just did the reason I actually started doing the orange is that it was all blackish grey last night, and I realised that if my daughter woke up and came through and saw that it was this hideous black pumpkin, she might freak out and think that that's what she's going to get to wear for Halloween. So, she may actually like that. So I'm going to finish off these little bits. So how is everyone else doing? Everyone in the chat, you doing all right? Are you all prepared for Halloween? Do you like Halloween? You might not even like Halloween, and that's just fine. But Halloween is my favourite time of year, so I'm trying to get the most out of it that I can. And I've got some stuff lined up, hopefully, to come on the channel just before Halloween, so that'll be good, hopefully. Some new stories and things. I actually have an Edgar Allan Poe narration that I've done, and the whole thing's pretty much done, but there's one line in it that sounds awful, and I was listening to it back. I don't know what I was thinking when I was doing it, and so I need to go back and re-record that one line, and because I've not really had an opportunity to do that, so as soon as I get that one line done, that will be going up, so that might be the next thing to be going up. And also, hopefully there's going to be a Halloween Talking Till Dawn, and Martin Yates might hopefully even be on that episode with me, which would be amazing. I don't think it'll be a particularly long episode. It's probably it'll be under an hour, maybe 45 minutes, but it's about it's a true crime episode about two girls that sadly disappeared in America in 1969 on Halloween, and I feel like in researching that case I've spent quite a while on it, and you kind of uncover some unsettling things sometimes doing episodes of Talking Till Dawn, and that's definitely happened with this case. I've uncovered a few really unsettling things. It is the finest time of the year, mate. Just I knew I could depend on you. Fracas, love Halloween. Not ready yet though. Yeah, I know. And Eve, love Halloween. Yeah, it is all in the delivery. Halloween's always been my favourite time of the year. I think it's like in Scotland, even though you can make the argument that Halloween came from Scotland. I make this argument all the time. Halloween is a Scottish word, so at the very least, the word Halloween is a Scottish word, which means All Hallows Eve. But even though it may have originated in Scotland, it wasn't super popular. It was, kids would go out. They would go out what was called guising. That's what we called it when I was a kid. We were going out basically like guising. Disguising, I think that's where the word comes from. I used to think it was something to do with Guy Fawkes, but I don't think it is. Anyway, we used to go out, and people would go out and what you would call trick or treat now, but it wasn't a huge thing. You'd come to people's houses, sometimes they'd have sweets for you, sometimes if they didn't have sweets they'd give you money, or they'd ignore you. But I loved Halloween, and my mum and dad made Halloween this huge event for us and for all my friends, and we were like the only house I really knew of that actually got decorations and things like that, and that so people around the neighbourhood kind of got to know, yeah, you can always go to the White House residence for a lot of good sweets and a lot of scares. My dad had a smoke machine at one point that he used to set off as kids would walk by, and he loved it. He absolutely loved it. And now my dad's no longer with us. Like, I feel like I kind of have to carry on that tradition. Not have to. I just love it. I love the whole time, and I kind of get sad when it's over. But I bought that as well. A Yankee Candle, pumpkin spice. I'm getting into my candles. I'm getting so old. Hello Stephen, how you doing, mate? Well, you carved some turnips this year in Scotland. They can be damn creepy looking. When I was a kid, that's what you did. We didn't really have pumpkins. They were what are called tumsheed, and yeah, we were like, my dad used to carve out a pumpkin, no, carve out a turnip with us, and then he would turn it into a lantern, a proper lantern, and you could really do that with turnips because they're small. And there would be a big bit of string, and I would be able to actually walk with this pumpkin. It was probably really dangerous wearing like cardboard and things like that for outfits and being flammable, but how we laughed. You're a tumshay. That's right. Michael did carve a pumpkin on stream once, then we ate it and set fire to the table. Oh, we did indeed. We dissected a haggis once. Never again. But yeah, like so yeah, we used to have Tom Shaheeds, and then I would say about, I don't know, maybe about 15 years ago, like pumpkins started being available in the supermarkets, for carving. Um, and that just became more and more popular. Now it's everywhere. And since the pandemic, like you didn't really have pumpkin patches to go pumpkin picking and things like that. But since the pandemic, that started to become a big thing because it was outside, and initially people could go. It was something they could do outside in October. Was go and pick pumpkins, and so different places started to do it, different farms, and different kind of like family parks and stuff like that. And I love it. And now it's like we do it every year. I just went to one a couple of days ago. I might actually show you the pumpkins. I'm looking at them right now. They're over there. I don't know if they're going to last. I need to keep them somewhere cold, but they're inside right now. And there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a lot of pumpkins. I'm not going to lie. My daughter's got a lot. And then you've got these ghost pumpkins now, which I've never seen before. These white pumpkins. So I bought one of them. Never done that before. And I love doing the carving thing. It's kind of become a big thing for me to do on Halloween. It's a little bit different now though because we've started doing trick or treating. I mean, last year was actually my oldest daughter's 5, but that was last year was the first year that we went pumpkin picking, trick or treating, or guising as we call it. And the reason it was the first time was because there were all the restrictions. Halloween was basically cancelled a couple of years in a row. I'm sure it was the same for a lot of other people. So she was too young before the pandemic to actually go trick or treating properly, and then the pandemic hit. So last year was the first time we were out and about, and she was in a costume and all that going around. That was a robot costume that I talked about earlier that I made for her. And yeah, it was really nice. It was really nice doing that. But the only thing is, I'm used to being like the house that has the decorations up, and we try to like entertain the kids when they arrive. Not really like, "Hi everyone, I'm a magician," not like that. But we try to entertain the kids and make it fun for them. Since I've become a dad, I've realised that I don't want to really scare the children too much. When I was in my 20s, and I would still have Halloween at my mum and dad's because I still lived there. I lived there till I was 33, but don't tell anyone. No, it's fine. It's fine. Anyway, so we used to have like, the Halloweens there, and I used to actually make a point of scaring the kids. And there's a couple of times where I had to like take off my mask or something, and be like, because a child would cry, and then I felt bad. Whereas since I've become a parent, I'm kind of like, yeah, you don't need to go that far. You just make it fun for them. And but because we are now going out trick or treating with the little ones, it's weird because we're not here to actually do that. But we still do the house up a bit, and we do. I'll have decorations up inside the house for like a week before Halloween. The kids will enjoy it, and then I'll put out bowls of like sweets and things like that. And it's an honour system, but who knows? Sometimes people just nick everything, don't they? Okay, sorry, looking at the chat. Meat Juice. I like shopping the field, you can pick the freak pumpkins that never make it to the store. Yeah, there's something to be said for that. You can get the ones that are kind of twisted, and you can really make some cool carvings with that. Hi everyone, I'm Michael Whitehouse. Here's my Patreon. Yeah, yeah, that's what I do all the time. Oh, Stephen, you should definitely go along to a pumpkin picking thing. It's like really, it's loads of fun. Um, there's different ones. There's, like I say, there's ones that are just like on farms and things like that. But the one we went to was down in what was it called? It was down near Lanark, and they had like a ton of stuff, really good food. I had a pumpkin spice latte, well, a decaf one. Today's the first day I've had a proper coffee in 2 months because I went off caffeine because it was turning me into a dick. Pardon my language. And today, because my migraine, eventually I was like, I really need something to try and shift it, so I had a coffee with some pumpkin spice in it, and it was delightful. But I shan't be doing it tomorrow. This is what I've told myself. Weird shapes, yeah, definitely. So a poked pumpkin. Pick a nice misshapen pumpkin and carve sloth. Oh yeah. Yeah, I can't remember if it was Callum or me that set fire to the table, but I think we've had a couple of incidents during the stream, and then there was a bigger fire after the stream where we were laughing too hard to put it out. Genuinely good. That's right. Oh, so good. So good. Is Nightmare Before Christmas by Mr. Fluffy Bags? Hello, Mr. Fluffy Bags. Please settle this once and for all. Is Nightmare Before Christmas a Christmas film or a Halloween film? We watch it after Halloween. It's the transition film. We watch it. We used to watch it on like the first. So there's a vampire kicking off on Kolchak, the Night Stalker, right now, everyone. Just in case you can hear that. That ruckus. We watch it. We used to watch it on the 1st of November. It'd be like, but we watch the day after Halloween. But it's definitely one. We watch it twice. We watch it early November, and then sometimes we watch it closer to Christmas as well, because we have all these Christmas films to get through, and to get through like it's a slog. And because my wife is so like I love Christmas as well, but I'm kind of Halloween, and my wife's just loves Christmas. And but you try and get out the lower quality Christmas films, get through them first in November, and I always stop on the last Thursday of the month of November to watch Planes, Trains and Automobiles. We always watch that. But I think it's I don't know, you could watch it as a Halloween film, but not really. The film starts with Halloween finishing with This Is Halloween. That's how the film starts, and then it's all about Christmas. All of it's about Christmas, even though it's set in Halloween Town. It's all about Christmas, so I would definitely say it's a Christmas movie, but a good transitional one. I'm just watching there the actor that's on Kolchak, the Night Stalker, right now. He was Kit in Knight Rider, and also the principal in Boy Meets World. Michael farted on my comments and banned me. I loved it. Yeah, I'm so sorry, Stephen. I have no idea how that happened. Best Christmas movie is Krampus. Krampus is excellent. It's really, really good. It's I mean, Black Christmas is a great film, but it's really bleak. So, like, as a Christmas movie, I don't really enjoy bleak films at that time of year. Krampus is quite bleak as well, but it's fun, and I think it's a really good double feature with Gremlins, because it has a little bit of that over the top vibe to it, and I think it was Michael Doherty that directed that did Trick or Treat as well. So he's done like a great Christmas movie and a great Halloween movie. I've not watched the remakes. I've not seen them. I've not seen the remakes, Stephen. I've only watched the original one, which I think, the slasher genre owes a lot to Black Christmas. I watched Halloween 3 the other night on my broken television. I don't know if any of you are here when I was talking about my broken TV. Callum, my TV broke. I opened it up and tried to fix it. It's goosed. So I've managed to turn down. It's quite dim at the moment, so I can watch something on it. It's got a thin line across the screen, but I can watch something on it. But if you turn the brightness up or anything like that, you start getting all these crazy lines on the top. So I'll need to get a new television, which is devastating. I mean, with all the things that are going on in the world, Michael needing to get a new television really is the saddest thing, isn't it, everyone? Do you ever feel like just complaining about things makes you feel like an idiot? Brian Cox was great in Trick or Treat. He's always great. Yeah, he was. He was really good. Never seen Oh, right. You never seen Halloween 3? Oh, yeah. Like, Halloween 3, this is what I say about Halloween 3. It's got a phenomenal atmosphere. It visually, it's gritty and just, you just want to stick your teeth into it. I can't explain it. It just feels like the 80s in the best possible way. And you've got Tom Atkins in it. You've got, I forget the actor's name, who played the president of OCP in RoboCop. It's got some great physical effects in it. Some really good physical effects in it. It's got a great score. The direction's really good. It's everything about it is great, and I love it. But the one thing where it fails to a degree is it doesn't go deep enough. There's basically a town that I won't do spoilers, but there's a town that they get to in Halloween 3, and that's where the majority of the action takes place. And I think they should have got to that location maybe 2 acts in. Like that should have been like the last 20 minutes of the movie. Or like it should have been expanded. I think the whole thing should have been expanded, and the motivation of the villain should have been expanded. It's still great. It's still tremendous, but it does feel like a little lightweight. But it's a perfect watch. It's just perfectly enjoyable. And there's some terrible misogyny in it. Like Tom Atkins in that movie as the Doctor is like every woman he's obviously had sex with at some point, and they're all just like, oh yeah, I'll see you soon, and they're all giving kisses in the cheek, but it's like nobody's bothered about commitment. It's just like, I'm having fun with Tom Atkins. But if you think about it, like Tom Atkins, right? Like, so sorry, before going to Tom Atkins, Halloween 3, definitely worth watching. It was supposed to be the beginning of Halloween being having a different standalone movie every year, but because it flopped at the time, they went back to Michael Myers, which is a real shame because Halloween 3 shows a lot of promise. And I think if they just the original script, I think, was written by Nigel Neal, who famously wrote Quatermass, and The Stone Tape, amongst many other things. He wrote the TV version of The Woman in Black. He's a genius, but there was a fallout about the script, and I have not read the original script. I don't know if it's available, but they went back and they rewrote parts of the script that he had handed in, and I wonder if maybe they'd stuck to Nigel Kneale's vision, then maybe it would have been a little bit of a meatier film. But it's still great and loads of fun. Tom Atkins, he's in The Fog, one of my favourites of all time. He's in Creepshow, one of my favourites of all time. He's in Night of the Creeps, another classic. And he's in Halloween 3. So he's definitely done his horror bit. Callum, summon me a new television from your cave of electronics. No, not at all. Not at all, mate. Not at all. I'll just come and take yours. No, I'm just telling you that I broke my TV, mate. It's not a scrounge. Mr. Fluffy Bags. Funny Halloween fact. British people used to use turnips at this time of year before pumpkins were brought over from the Americas, and there's a story of people leaving carved turnips put with candles. Yeah, we were just talking about that at the start of the live stream. I used to carry, like, we called them tumsheheads. We carved turnips when I was a kid. It wasn't pumpkins. So it's not that long ago. Well, I'm getting on a bit. Don't feel it though. At least they knew when to draw the line with the Halloween films. Yeah, they did go on and on and on after that, didn't they? Poor Donald Pleasance. Harry Potter and the Woman in Black. Funny you bring up Halloween 3 because I had an idea for a silver shamrock shake, cookies and cream with mint and some edible silver like sprinkles or something. Rose, that sounds delightful. J.K. Rowling's still the worst part of it all. Not that long ago. In my own measurements, that was like 2 grannies ago. Well, if you lie them end to end. I'm currently watching Kolchak the Night Stalker, my favourite television show. I watch it at least once a year. I did the films first earlier this month, The Night Stalker and The Night Strangler, and now I'm making my way through the series. I thought I'd have something on in the background because I'm in the house on my own, and sometimes I get a bit creeped out. I need noise. Silence just makes my brain go, what was that? Did you hear that? So I'd rather fill it with the sound of vampires and monsters and other scary things. Oh, human beings are much more frightening. So if you haven't watched Kolchak the Night Stalker, I highly recommend it. The godfather of many a supernatural television show, including the X-Files. And the books are worth it as well, especially the first one, the original one by Jeff Rice. It's a great story. And the original film is one of the best vampire movies ever made. Some people think the Monster of the Week format got a little bit tiring on the television series. In fact, that was the case for Darren McGavin himself, the lead. But it's actually what I love about the show. It's the Monster of the Week, and they're hokey and sometimes a little bit creepy, and it's just good fun. There's still a pile of like 17 DVDs and Blu-rays that were bought for GT giveaways, including that pile of the Daniel Radcliffe Blu-ray of Women in Black. It fucking haunts me. Well, that's fine. We'll do some giveaways. I was actually thinking of doing more of these live streams where I make something and then give it away. But I don't know if anyone would be interested in that. Here, have some paper clay models of creepy things. What I'd really like to do on a stream is I made a haunted house for my daughter years ago, and I feel like I could do a live stream, like maybe even like a charity live stream, like do that for like 12 hours or something like that, and like just make an entire big paper mache haunted house with lights in it and stuff like that. Of course, I need to run that past my beautiful wife first. I'm just going in here for 12 hours. There's nowhere for me to go. I need to wait until the children are in bed. But tonight, they are over at their granny's. with my wife, and I am here alone. Well, not alone. I'm here with you lovely people. Now, I'm a bit conflicted about this pumpkin, about whether to do another layer of paint after this, because the grey black kind of primer and then wash that I did is peeking through, and I like it. I kind of like the, but it's made it a bit darker, and I don't know if maybe I should make it. The other thing I was thinking of doing was I bought some green paint, and I was thinking of doing like climbing vines, like when I do the suit part, that'll have vines on it. So I was going to do like climbing vines coming up the side of the pumpkin, but I don't know if that's a little bit too much. What do you all think? And plus side, second hand tellies now are absolute buttons. You'll be back watching real Ghostbusters before you know it. I know. No, I think I'm just going to bite the bullet, Callum, and just get a new one, because with a second hand one, I mean, like most of the times, like you have to go to someone's house to pick it up, and I'm just like going to a stranger's house to barter. It's something. Bartering on someone's doorstep. I shall give you 15 stones for this. Oh no, Koshak, the Night Stalkers went off, and I need to use my phone because I've lost the remote. Well, we'll just have to leave it then. Just hope that I don't start hearing things. So how's that looking? Looking at this, there's a major delay. Download this. There's a major delay. I just need to hold this for ages now, and that's what you're looking at. Anyway, I got this. I've got paint all over me. I got this light, which is like a reading light, and I actually thought I might put it inside the pumpkin, because my daughter wants it to have pink glowing eyes, so I need to figure out how I'm going to do that, and I don't want it to heat up, so I want to make sure it's something that doesn't heat up, and that reading light doesn't. It's not, the reading light's not pink, so I'll put like a pink cell over it to make it pink. That's my idea anyway, and it lasts for 2.5 hours. Do you know the biggest thing with this? This isn't actually the way it was supposed to turn out. I was going to do another layer of paper clay and carve all the lines properly and everything, and then do the face a little bit more. And then I realised, what am I thinking? Like, this thing's too heavy for a child. So I decided not to do any of that, and I just hope that it's not too heavy as is. I don't think it is. I think it'll be okay. It's quite light. But I think if I'd done another layer of clay and all that, it would have been, it would definitely, well, it's paper clay, but even then it dries heavy. Does that make sense? Oh, hold on, I need to scroll up. The problem with the giveaways is we were getting the DVDs for like 20 pence and the postage was like 20 quid. That's right. Out of all the Talking Till Dawns, Mr. Fluffy Bags asks, you've done, is there one above the rest that makes you think it's true and genuinely scares you? I try to stay relatively neutral as best I can. I lean, like, I'm very, very open to the possibility of the paranormal and cryptids and things like that. I'm not saying I think they exist, but I'm saying I'm open to the possibility because I've had some experiences myself that give me pause. But and that's not a joke about turning into a werewolf. Um, but the out of all the topics, which one scared me the most? The Black Eyed Kids one, even though we could that's one where we were pretty much like, yeah, we researched it and I showed where that story came from originally and how it's probably just made up. But I told the story about how I had a weird encounter at 1 o'clock in the morning, like with my friends, that wasn't paranormal or anything like that, but it was a bit unnerving. Because that was something that actually happened, it was a bit scary. I won't reiterate the story because maybe you'll want to go, and if you haven't, go and listen to the Black Eyed Kids Talk Till Dawn episode. Of the other ones, I suppose the ones that scare me the most are the ones that actually end up being about persecution, really. I mean, the last one that I did, which was the werewolf Peter Stump, that story, when you really, like, if you discount all of the supernatural claims, you realise that this man was probably executed in the most hideous way. Now, I theorised in the episode that I think he may have been guilty of cannibalism, or at least accused of that, and they called him a werewolf, and that cannibalism was such a, because it happened during the time where there were famines in Europe. Cannibalism was such an evil thing to do, that, and such a taboo, that the execution would be particularly harsh. But even then, like, especially the Paisley Witches episodes that I did, they took so long to do those episodes, because there was so much to read and get through to really figure out exactly what the claims were and what had possibly happened. But when you realise that a bunch of people were executed just because of hearsay, that's frightening. I think that's scary. When it comes to anything kind of paranormal or supernatural that we've done, like, any of them, there was an episode that Martin did, and it's about a UFO landing. Callum shot with his a trip to where that landing took place. I think that was the one, and it was in Scotland. And it's on the Patreon, the Talking Till Dawn Patreon, but we might make it available on the channel because it's been a while now. But that case, I'm trying to remember what the name of the UFO incident was, but if you actually watch video of the people talking about it, and the guy that would, like, encountered it, they seem like something happened to him, something quite frightening. So, and I find a lot of stuff to do with the alleged byproduct of encounters with UFOs to be quite unnerving and scary. Especially the hitchhiker effect, from Skinwalker Ranch and places like that, where people claim that they go home and the phenomenon kind of follows them, which is in line with a lot of southeastern Asian folklore about wandering ghosts. The wandering ghost's always been a little bit of a scary one, because it, like, even if you don't believe in these things, you could go, if they end up being real, there's something there, non-human, doesn't need to be the spirits of the dead. The idea of the wandering ghost is that it comes home with you, and I think that's quite frightening, especially when you get a family. I'm trying to think of other ones. Oh, the what was the name of the serial killer? The monster of Peru. The serial killer. oh, I can't remember his name. That episode, it's just so grim. What happened? I actually said when we originally started talking to Dawn that I wasn't going to do episodes about kids because that really gets to me, and but we've done ones that have involved that now. But I have to, like, the true crime stuff, even the paranormal stuff, I have to take a break from. I say that in the episodes now, like, you know, if this topic's going to affect you, you know, just take a wee break from it, step away. You don't need to, you know, the world's hard enough. You know, you don't need to do that to yourself if it's going to affect you badly. So just take a wee break. Sometimes I like to put on a comedy or something like that just to, I feel laughing is the antidote to when these things start to freak you out a little bit. And sorry, I'm not ignoring the chat. Be right back. Going to make 99 fake accounts to like the stream. Thank you. I'll stream myself getting Michael and Nutella and I'll deliver on my bike. No, I've not seen that, Callum. UV Wire, you need to send me a link. That sounds quite good. Rose Black, I wrote a story on Black Eyed Kids a while back. More comedy horror, but still. Yeah, like, that's great, Rose. It's funny, I was writing, I work as a ghostwriter, and I wrote a series of novels for a publisher recently, and I was able to put quite a lot of comedy in it, and I started to realise that that's something that I hold back on in my own writing for the most part, except for the No Sleep podcast scripts that I do occasionally for the live shows. There's always a bit of humour in them. I love American Werewolf in London because people call that a comedy horror, and it's not really a comedy horror, it's a horror film, but it's funny because people are funny. People make jokes under stressful situations, and people are quirky, and I think that creates a terror in itself because these weird, horrifying things are going. When the two main characters are walking across the moors at the start of American Werewolf in London, and they hear the howl of the wolf, and they're just trying to joke with each other and raise each other's spirits, and then something starts circling them in the dark. It's like such a counterpoint. The comedic elements are such a counterpoint to the horror that when the horror shows up, it's really terrifying. But it's not a comedy. It's real people just having a laugh, and that's what people do. Oh. The Virginia alien incident. No. Was that not in South America? That one was that? No, this was one in Scotland. It wasn't the Landstrom incident, was it? Was it Robert Landstrom? Was that the name of the? Or am I thinking of a different one? Callum, what one was it? Please tell me. But it was a UFO landing that apparently happened in Scotland. We went to visit the site of it, and this gentleman encountered it in the field and ended up. I mean, it's funny, but he ended up getting his trousers torn off. Right, but like you genuinely think that there may have been some ball zapping, not slapping. And when people went back to the field, there were impressions in the field from where this thing had landed, and the guy was genuinely terrified, and everyone that met him believed him. Oh, Callum falling is always there is footage of one of my favourite pieces of video there's ever been. There's footage in this on that's privated, but I've said to Callum he needs to put it up at some point, and it was Callum and Martin using playing around with a drone, And Callum's running along the road, and obviously, like the drones following him, filming him, and they were just testing it out. And Callum falls into a ditch, and he goes. It's the way he falls. He falls over in installments, and it is so funny. Just falls in a ditch. It made me laugh. If I had been there in real life, I'd have laughed even harder. But I saw the video. It exists. I can tell you all. You're so good with the CW. To be honest, what's the CW? By the way, again, I have had a terrible migraine today, so my words won't come, and my thinking is really foggy after that. So, I really enjoyed the Erdstall episode. That sort of thing really interests me. Yeah, me just and they're still finding them, thousands of them all over Europe. Some of them even in the UK. Nobody knows what these tiny little tunnels were for. Who built them? Some people try to suggest that they were medieval construction, but I think they may be much older. The only reason people say they think they might be medieval is because they found a burnt torch or some burnt charcoal in one of the tunnels, and they could carbon date that. They can't carbon date the stone, but they could carbon date that to like the 1300s or something like that. But I think so much is lost to history. It really is. I think if we could actually see what actually took place in this planet, it would blow our minds. I wouldn't be surprised if there have been other epochs of civilizations more advanced, not necessarily more advanced than us, but just entire civilizations that are just gone, wiped off the records. Doesn't it feel like sometimes that's about to happen to us? Hopefully not. I hope not. That keeps me awake. If you want to talk about things that frighten me, that frightens me. I try and be stoic about it and say, well, I can't affect it, I can't change it, but it does affect me. The fact that these warnings are so common now makes me feel really old. Oh right, you mean right, like the warnings? Yeah, like I used to be quite like kind of against trigger warnings for fiction. But then I spoke to some people who were genuinely upset about not stuff that I had done, but that someone else had done. And I realised I'm like, I know it ruins the story if you give a tip of what might come up in the future, but if you take something like rape, for example, and the story doesn't seem to have anything to do with it, and then suddenly that happens, and maybe even in gruesome detail, and someone is reading that who has been raped or sexually assaulted, it could affect them deeply, and I don't really want to do that to people. I tend to not write in a gratuitous way, I don't think. I like cozy horror. I like horror that just gives you a chill rather than things that are overtly gory and stuff like that. Sometimes I'll have something that's a bit more shocking, but most of the time I don't like to write in a shocking way. I like to write more like, suppose, classic ghost story writers wrote. But I can understand why trigger warnings annoy people, because they used to have that effect on me, but I realised over time, I think I was wrong about that. I think that they help people, and there's enough stress in the world without upsetting others when it can be avoided. I think that we try and put that up at the start of Talking Till Dawn episodes now, just to let people know, especially when you're talking about real events, because there's stuff like, I'll give you an example of something that affected me badly. Was the documentary Dear Zachary. and I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anything about what had happened, and I was watching this. I was enthralled on it in it, but everything seemed to be going right in the account of this event as the documentary went on, and you thought you'd already reached the bottom of where the story was going to go, and now it was coming back up, and there was maybe going to be a bit of hope, and then there's just something awful, truly awful happens, and it you and it's real, you know. It was like it's something that actually happened to people, and had I known about that, maybe I wouldn't have watched it. It's a brilliant documentary, really brilliant documentary, but I might have chosen not to watch it just because it was so grim. Landstrom something, yeah, that's what I was saying. Robert Landstrom account, I think. I agree about Erd Stalls. Those things are incredible and fascinating from a missing history perspective. Yeah, absolutely. I think anomalous history is like, I love all that stuff. Göbekli Tepe and all these places around the world that there's the stories are missing and we don't know who made them, and I think sometimes, I mean, I'm not saying I'll go full Graham Hancock, but I think he has some really valid points about that there maybe were other human civilizations that were totally wiped out, and that's lost to us now. And who knows how advanced they were, and then maybe there was even a world culture at one point, at least that people were in touch with each other, where culture spread. And then there was this potentially an asteroid or comet hit the Earth in about 10,000 years ago, and that's really when written history for us, or history for our epoch, kind of started. And then recently you found like they found what looks like a construction of like someone using wood to build something, and I think it's, I don't want to get the dating wrong, but it's like either like 500,000 or 1,000,000 years old, and now they're like, was this made by us or was it made by earlier hominids? I think Homo sapiens are probably a lot older than we think. Michael gives people trigger warnings for me in real life. I do. Oh, Mark from Shadows at the Door. Yeah, Mark's a sweetheart. He's a lovely guy. I'm on his Patreon. It's well worth it, and the show's excellent. We're both big Mr. James fans, but he's a really lovely. I've never met him, but just in our interactions online through the years, like, he's always come across as such a lovely person. Yeah, I think so too, Stephen. It's good to know whether you want to read it or listen to it. I don't have them at the start of my fiction stories, but then that's because my fiction stories don't really go there. Really, they don't really go into the type of stuff I like to read is not so grim and violent. The stuff I like to read is just cozy horror, horror that makes you go ooh, not necessarily ooh, but it just gives you that feel of a shiver down your spine. And some of my favourites, some of the stories that have scared me the most, like the Frontier Guards, Cal, are ones that just, like, there's nothing really frightening in them, and then there's just like a reveal at the end, and it really makes you go, oh my god. He was originally Michael Frighthouse, but we had to tone it down. This is true. Suspense and terror is better than gratuitous gory details anyway. I totally agree, but there are people like Clive Barker, like, I've read a few Clive Barker books, and he's brilliant, and he manages to mix a sensual erotic aspect into his horror, and it can be extremely gory and violent, but also he has that he brings in that kind of erotic aspect to it as well, and it's very different from my writing, but I think he's brilliant. So people can do it, but the problem is it's the easiest thing in the world to shock someone when you write. You can just write a story and be like, you know, I mean, I I wrote a prologue to a novella once that just that started. The reveal at the end of the prologue was that a baby died, and this was years ago. Um, and I think it was fair game, but it's also cheap. It's a cheap way to shock people, you know. Uh, Damn, Michael, paint faster to avoid the trauma. He's gone Joe Rogan. Glasgow orange. That would be quite funny, actually. Uh, I read a book on the serial killer on Albert Fish. Yeah, the Werewolf of Wisteria. That was Albert Fish, wasn't it? I could take a lot, but I kind of wished I hadn't read that one after I finished it. The fact that he wrote letters to the families, I believe, like telling them how delicious their children were and stuff like that. Like, yeah, like it's so over the top that it sounds made up. It sounds like it was just totally exaggerated. The Albert Fish case, but sometimes truth is stranger than fiction, and other cliches. Ah, yeah, that's the one. Callum Albert Fish, the child murder at St. Gloat Messages. Yeah. Oh, Mr. Leaves. Yeah, like Mr. Leaves, Stephen. That's a film. That film. That's a story I enjoyed writing that one. Um, and I suppose it has a kind of autumnal feel to it. What's the Mr. James one set in an abbey with two gay priests and nothing scary happens? Uh, yeah, so the Treasure of Abbot Thomas. I think you'll find quite a lot of scary things happen. That mask looks great. Thanks very much. The Undertaler. That's a great name as well. Your holiday fake vlog fucked me up. I sorry about that, Stephen. Yeah, like I totally I made that up as I went along, so I was really glad that it worked because I had no idea what I was doing. I literally was staying in a lodge with my family a caravan park and lodge park in Weems Bay on the coast, and I had like 2 hours, 2 or 3 hours at the most, and I was just like, can I go up to? I know there's a gorge that goes up to an old quarry. Can I just go and walk that? And I'll take my phone with me and just see what I can do. And I managed to put something together that I was quite happy with. All apart from the fact that the program I was using on my phone, the app, sorry, I still say program like I'm 86. The app messed with the refresh rate on the selfie camera, so whenever I used that, there's ghosting all over it. But it kind of worked anyway. I think as if the footage was a little bit corrupted. Rose, a subcategory of that trope for me has been kids getting off in horror. Usually it's at the start, and I get it's sad, but how am I supposed to be invested emotionally like 10 minutes in? I think there's ways to do it, Rose. Like, I think there's something to be said for a really great prologue, something that really gets you. there are times watching horror films, like I think the beginning of The Grudge, for example, has just this short scene that lets you know you're in for something. I don't know how well that film stands up now because I haven't watched it in a long, long time, but certainly in the cinema it worked really well. And that the opening with Bill Pullman, like there were audible gasps. Although I can't really watch it in all seriousness now because of the parody of it in Scary Movie 3, I think it was. Um, and then I'm trying to think of other horror films that have got a really good prologue that just opening scene like 28 weeks later. Like almost completely forgotten the rest of that movie, but the opening 10 minutes in that are absolutely brilliant and terrifying. I heard that Danny Boyle directed the opening 10 minutes. I don't know if that's true, but I heard that. You know, sometimes you just if sometimes if you can, I think if it's done properly, you can really get an audience invested, whether it's a film or a TV show or a story. You can get people invested really, really quickly. What I might do, if this isn't too boring for all of you, is I've actually started writing a novel here and there, and I'll read the prologue to you. I've actually got it down there. Um, it's a first draft, so it'll be rough around the edges. I actually was going to, once I was finished doing some of this, I've been fixing old thermal typewriters. I was going to show you some of that. But anyway, how exciting is that? You're in for a treat. Oh, Jeff, hello. Thanks very much, Stephen, mate. I really appreciate all your support. You're some man. Jeff, is the UFO incident called the Taylor Livingston incident in the Decmont Woods? Yep, that's the one. That's the one. Jeff got it. My memory is awful. It is so bad at the moment. I mean, especially when I've had migraines and things like that, but just in general, I feel that my memory's just garbage at the moment. I'm like, that I'm actually forgetting like stuff that I've done. I don't mean like stories that I've written and things like that, but I just mean like around the house and things like that. Like I'm thinking, oh, I need to go and do this, and then I turn around, it's done, and I'm like, was that the helpful elves? No, I'd already done it and I'd just forgotten. Ori and the Blind Forest made me sad in a very short amount of time. Is that the video game? Is it? Ori and the Blind Forest? What would you say is a must-see horror film that most people will have overlooked? Oh, Mr. Fluffy Bags. That's a great question. That's a great question. A horror film that most people have overlooked that I think is really great. There's a film from the 40s called The Uninvited. It's kind of a haunted house film. It's tremendous, but it has its fans, so maybe it's not overlooked. I could say, like, I think The Haunting 1963 and The Innocents that came out that year as well are as good as The Exorcist and The Shining and things like that. But something that's really, I'll tell you, and Callum will know this one as well. There's a found footage film, you can get it on Amazon Prime, called Leaving DC. It's not widely known, and it's one of the best found footage films ever made. And it was made by, I'm trying to remember the name of the gentleman that made it, Chris something, I can't remember, but I think it's about 10 years old now, and he made the whole thing pretty much on his own. There is one other actor that comes into it at one point, but pretty much did the whole thing on his own, and it is really good, really creepy. Yes, the ending's maybe not as great as the rest of it, but it's actually the opposite of a lot of found footage films. A lot of found footage films try to do the Blair Witch thing, which is get the ending like a really good ending, but then like the build up to it's maybe not been great. Whereas Leaving DC, the build up's phenomenal. The ending's good, but it's just maybe not quite as fulfilling. But it's. I'm not saying it's a perfect movie, but for a movie that was made low budget, pretty much by one person, it's really really great. So that's Leaving DC. That's a horror film that I would recommend to anyone to seek out and watch. There's one available on YouTube. It's called Rorschach by a director called C.A. Smith, and you can watch it for free. It's about an hour and 15 minutes long. It's a found footage movie, or documentary horror is probably more correct, about two guys investigating claims made by a family who claim they're being haunted, and it's excellent. And the end, if you don't mind me swearing, the end of that film put the shits right up me. And really got me. But it might not work for some people because it's subtle, but it scared me. And it's tremendous, really great, well worth it. So that's Rorschach. You'll find that on YouTube for free. 20 weeks later with the mum, it was rough. Yeah, totally. But the opening was tremendous. It's the same as the opening to Trainspotting, just running. Yeah. Yes, thanks, Callum. UV wire for the Waynes. 28 weeks later was Jeremy Renner's really long audition for the Hulk. Renner didn't even really need a wardrobe. You're my Scotland connection from my spot here in Tennessee. Well, you're my Tennessee connection, Jeff. Long may it continue. Long may it continue. The Descent. Yeah, I like The Descent. I haven't watched it for a long time, but I enjoyed that one. I think everyone talks about that, but the director also did Dog Soldiers, which I went to the cinema to see. Didn't know anything about it. Just that was when I used to go to the cinema years ago, and it was like you're just like, what am I here to see? It was cheap enough to. I sound like such an old man. It was cheap enough where you could turn up and go, I'll just pick something. You're not doing that now, tell you that, unless you're Mr. Moneybags. And I remember Dog Soldiers was there, and I went to watch it. I think I watched it with my then girlfriend, and really enjoyed it. Thought it was excellent. An excellent werewolf movie, which good werewolf movies are few and far between. But The Descent was good. The endings, like I know, like in America though, didn't The Descent have the happy ending? Am I wrong about that? That they I know there's two endings, two or three endings to it. Because I remember that on the DVD. Bad Ben trailers. We're not watching the Bad Ben films, Callum. If you want a right laugh, everyone go and watch the Bad Ben movies on Amazon. And I'm really sorry. Fair play to. I mean, I love it. The gentleman that's making those Bad Ben movies. There's a series of films called Bad Ben on Amazon, and I'll tell you what, there's about 10 of them. Callum and I have lost count. The first one's actually a bit of a laugh. It's a found footage thing, and then it just gets like it gets out of control. Bad Ben 37. It's out of control. But I love the effort. Do you know what I love? I love when someone creatively takes a huge swing and misses, because I just think the effort, the attempt, that's all any of us can do. You never know if something's going to land or not. And I just love, I think that's why I love bad movies, because it's just like someone made this, someone took the time to make this. This is great. Uh, Rose. Oh. Unfortunately, a lot of found footage makes me feel like I'm being shaken by the shoulders. Do you know, that's true? I think especially in the cinema. I remember going to see the Blair Witch Project when it originally came out, and it's quite, yeah, it can make you quite nauseous if you're prone to like travel sickness and things like that. I think people feel that way, like using VR and things as well. So, but I think that the funny thing is I use the term found footage, but sometimes that's not the correct term really, because there's documentary horror, which is where it's like it's not that the footage has been found somewhere and then you're watching it back. Oh, I watched a great one recently. Oh, what was the name of it? Dead Streaming? Is that what it was called? Has anyone else seen this? It's on Shudder. And like halfway through the film, I was going to switch it off because I was like, I can't tell if this is going to be legit or not. And it was really good. It was really, really good. It's about a live streamer who's come off of a bad controversy and is now trying to come back, and he goes to spend a night in a haunted house and he live streams from there. It's really great. Loads of fun. It has, and loads of like physical effects. Like I was like, wow, this is excellent. It reminded me, it was a bit like Evil Dead, obviously not to that standard, but it was a bit like that. So I think it was called Dead Streaming, I think. R Point, yeah, I watched R Point years ago. I remember that had a really creepy atmosphere. It was really, really good. Michael, do you remember the found footage film we found of the guy getting chased on the farm by clowns? Fuck me, it's rough. Yeah, what was that? What was that? Did we watch all of that? I remember that now. Lobster harmonica, Alan! Hurrah! I've seen R Point, but it was a long time ago. Afraid I don't remember much about it now. Other than all those lads having the clap. Yeah, I remember a lot of kind of like fog and mist, and did they not end up being holed up in an old house? I can't remember the soldiers. Please upload this full stream at least for the film recommendations you just gave. Oh, the whole thing will be up. I mean, I have an old channel called Horror of Mike, and I used to just turn the camera on and do like horror reviews, and I keep meaning to go back to it. And sometimes I'm like, and I'd like to do like horror video essays, but I'm conflicted about whether to do them on Ghastly Tales or not, because in one sense I think the more stuff that goes up in Ghastly Tales the better, but then I also think that it's you know, could the channel get flagged for using clips and things like that? Are you into any analog horror series here on YouTube? What do you mean by that, Rose? Do you mean like? Do you mean actually evolve? No, you tell me what you mean. I'll tell you if I've watched anything. Michael had a spell where he made us watch loads of found footage film, and eventually I think I was just imagining you. No, I remember something on a farm with clowns. Oh, Vincent Price binge, absolutely, Jeff. What Vincent Price films are you watching? The Corman Poe Cycle, the William Castle movies. Oh, it's all great. I'm a particular fan of The Raven, and of course House on Haunted Hill is great. The Bad Ben creator is committed. The Bad Ben creator is committed. He should be committed. No, he is committed, and I appreciate that. That's what I'm saying to you. Like, there's stuff I read of my own, and I look back and I just think this is crap, or I think this just it's not as good as I thought it was at the time, or whatever. And it's but like I don't feel bad about it because I'm just like you try, and that's the main thing that stops people from creating is they're worried that someone's going to turn around and say this isn't very good or make fun of them, and it's like, well, you're going to get that anyway. Even if you make something that's good, even if you write something that is great, there's still going to be people that don't like it, and that's okay. You don't. That's just not. That's not the person that you resonate with, and that's all right. I watched Shivers the other night. That was definitely one of the films that exists. uh, oh God, what is wrong with me? David Cronenberg. I remember it was Shivers. No, wait a minute, it was Shivers. No, I'm thinking of Rabid. I think I always remember watching Rabid when I was a kid on BBC Two late at night on a Sunday. I think you used to get something called Movie Drome, and I used to like sneakily stay up late in my room and watch whatever was on Movie Drome on a Sunday night, and it was a great film education. I wish they would bring it back, but I'm sure Rabid was shown at one point, and that's the one where it's like the girl was like a vampire, but she has like a thing that comes out of her armpit, and like it's better than it sounds. Have you seen the new VHS? I haven't, Rose. I've seen the first two, I think. But I was thinking of, I think they're on Shudder, so I've got Shudder, so I was thinking of, did you watch it? Would you recommend it? Yeah, Deadstream was really well done. It's good fun. Paranormal Farm. I don't think it could have been called that, surely. Surely not. Really? Paranormal Farm was the name of that movie? You just throw the word paranormal from it. Although I suppose on YouTube I've thrown the word horror on things. I don't know how many times. Oh, that's lovely you saying that, Stephen. But some of it is not like I, I. It sounds so self-congratulatory, but I love everything that I've done in some way because it's like it's part of you. But you cringe sometimes when you go back to something and you realise you're like, I should have taken more time on this, or maybe I shouldn't have put that one out. This thing that I'm really enjoying doing at the moment are these chilling confessions videos. I really want to ramp them up and do a lot more of them, and because I love actually trying to learn a little bit more about like performing the story, and it's what I might do a video about how I make the chilling confessions videos, but I essentially write like a couple of paragraphs about like what happens in the story, and then everything else is improvised, and I think that it has a fresh quality to it that you don't really get in a lot of places. Mask the Red Death, Jeff, yeah, tremendous. Yeah, the Poe and Nathaniel Hawthorne adaptations, yeah, so the Twice Told Tales, was that the Nathaniel Hawthorne one? I think it was, with the three Nathaniel Hawthorne stories. That was really good. Um, and Tales of Terror was the Poe anthology, which I love. It's got the Black Cat one with Vincent Price and Peter Lorre. It's just, I could watch that all day and every day. Something just hit the glass outside my window. That's good. I hear you knocking, but you can't come in. There's been a storm here. Um, Analog horror is like a subcategory of found footage, not restricted solely to someone with a camcorder, for example. Local 58 is told entirely through a new public broadcast station. And Mandela. Yeah, so I think in some ways that would be like an epistolary novel, like the equivalent of that for a movie. You know, it's told from knowledge is revealed through people's personal accounts. You know, it could be a radio station like Pontypool. That's a really good one. It could be journal entries. It could be, you know, one of my, when we talked about the TV version of Women in Black earlier on, the whole scene where the hero is listening to the old wax tube recordings of the woman that's passed away on Eel Marsh House. It's so eerie listening to her voice. Speaking of analog horror though, like, I've done stuff where I've recorded on tape and released that on the channel, and I really want to do more of that as well. I'd even be interested in releasing cassettes with some horror stories on them that I've done. I just think that'd be a cool thing to have, and I love tape as a format. I don't know if people would be interested in that though, but I would love to do it. Was Moviedrome not the thing Alex Cox used to introduce? Yeah, Alex Cox, and then I want to say either Mark Kermode did it eventually, or Alan, who's the Irish, or I can't remember if he was Irish or Northern Irish critic. He used to do something like Moviedrome, but it was on Channel 4, and he did that recent documentary on Orson Welles about all of his paintings. Can't remember his name. Michael, please audibly plug the Discord so Stephen can take a break from his tireless promotional work. Everyone, go and join the Discord. There'll be links in the chat. Fun and frolics to be had there. And it's a great place to talk about horror and other nonsense. Thunder Taylor. I love Vincent Price. He made an LP about witchcraft. That's right. I've seen that where he taught people how to summon Satan. Yeah. One of my favourite things ever. Me and Callum used to laugh at this. There's a video about it. It was, you know, Vincent Price used to do, because he was a huge fan of cooking, and there was a LP that he released, and it was how to host the perfect dining evening or something like that, but someone edited it up so that he keeps talking about cooking young boys, and it's really funny. There's a YouTube video of it somewhere. Stephen, when I finally put out a hardback, I will send you one, sir. No worries, Callum. Well, I hope you have a lovely evening, sir, and I'll see you soon, mate. Keep watching the skis. The same bit of pumpkin for all the years. Sorry, I really have, haven't I? Right, I need to continue on. Sorry, I'm just having fun talking, Stephen. I'm not a good multitasker, as my wife is always keen on telling me. Pontypool's great. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm miles behind. Or am I miles behind? No, I'm not. I don't know, Stephen. Like, see when you say a little bit Pontypool, but like problematic parts, I don't know. Maybe I'm just being old fashioned this way, but there's stuff that just doesn't age well. But I'm kind of forgiving about that sort of stuff, because a lot of the time I just think it's very easy. Like there's absolutely stuff that we'll all believe and think now that in 20 years people will say that was wrong. And maybe it probably is, but we don't even realise it. And I think sometimes with art, it's good to point these things out, but it doesn't affect my enjoyment of a film. Sometimes I'll be like, ooh, that's not aged well. and really that's about it. Maybe you could discuss that part of the film that you think is kind of beyond the pale now, but it wouldn't stop me from like recommending a film to someone or even enjoying a movie. I mean, I love movies from the 40s, and it's very difficult to find a single movie from the 40s that's not problematic or in some way. But maybe that's easier for me to say because I'm not. Oh, I've just dropped my paintbrush. Maybe that's just easy for me to say because I'm not affected by those things as much personally, so it's very easy to, I suppose, discount these things when if you're not affected by, you're not living them day by day. I suppose that's where we have to be careful and a bit more mindful. Mark Cousins, that's the one, Alan. Thank you very much. I don't rush back to a story of mine to edit it because someone who narrated it read out a flaw. It was perfect to begin with. You're all just crazy. Yeah. Oh, the Vincent Price cooking boys thing, Alan. Yeah, that was yeah, it was so funny, but it was like no, I think he was cooking a curry, as far as I remember. Pretty sure that's what he was cooking. He was cooking a curry. There's blackface in Pontypool. I don't remember that at all. Really? I can't remember. God, I can't remember that at all. So what's everybody watching then for Halloween? Jeff was talking about Vincent Price movies. Anyone else get any other recommendations? Horror movies that they feel like either watched this month or they're going to watch? I will start with one that I definitely want to make a video about. I keep pointing here, but you're over here. There's a film called The Dark and the Wicked. I've watched it twice now, and I don't like bleak movies, and it is about as bleak as they come. But I think the more I watch that film, I've got a lot to say about it, and I think I'm going to do a video about it, either on Ghastly Tales or on Horror Mike. Because it's really I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's got some really effective stuff in it. And there was a gross out bit in it that really made me shudder. It was to do with someone's fingers. Anything. I had a terrible accident when I was a kid with my fingers. My fingers all got mushed into pulp. It's amazing that I actually have them. And I think I totally had PTSD from that, but didn't realise it growing up. And anything where someone hurts their fingers or their hands just makes me freak out and squirm. And in The Dark and the Wicked, there was a bit in that just made me freak out. But it's a really bleak film about, oh dear, I've just painted orange on. Do you know what I've realised that I'm not really doing, and I should? Okay, that's a bit too wet. Hold on. Oh, still too wet. Well done, Michael. I don't have any tissue here. Hold on. Just use my hands. I was using this when I did it the other night to just smooth out some bits. Yeah, it's still too wet, Michael. Look at all that. You've just made it wet, Michael. You've just made the pumpkin wet. Steady on, you lot. Alan, did we not do? Did we do Pontypool when we used to do a double feature? Alan and I, Lobster Harmonica there in the chat. Alan and I are right old friends. We go way back, and we used to have a movie review show that I always want to go back and do again because I really miss it, called Double Feature, on an old YouTube channel that we had called Area Shifty Bun. And in Double Feature, I think maybe we uploaded a couple on Ghastly Tales a long time ago. On Double Feature, Alan's an anime fan and I'm a horror fan, so I would recommend a horror film to him and he'd recommend an anime film to me. We'd watch them and then we'd discuss them, and it's one of my favourite things that I ever did on YouTube. But I was just wondering if Pontypool was one of the movies, maybe. Do you know what I might be thinking? I used to do 31 Horrors of Mike on our Horror Mike channel, where I'd review and I know everyone does this now, but back in the day I would review a horror film for every day of October, and I think Pontypool was one of them, but I can't remember if I've messed this. Why have I forgotten to do that? Forgotten to actually just go over this with a brush. Now it's so streaky. I'm having too much fun talking. Pontypool, wait a minute. I'm trying to remember. What's the name of the town in Fireman Sam? It's not Pontypool, is it? Does anyone know? Someone Google that. The town in Fireman Sam. Ponty something. It can't be Pontypool. That would be hilarious. Because that's in Wales. How have I never shared what? Oh, there's my accident with my fingers. When I was 7 years old, I had my skateboard, and I remember it was one evening. I was down at. I went to. It must have been a Saturday or Sunday. I went down to. I say the evening. It could have been the afternoon. I went down to my school. There was a bit at the back of my school where there was this, you could get into the grounds kind of at the back, and we would get in there and there was a bit of a hill, and there were all these other kids a lot older than me. Some of them were like in their early teens maybe, and we decided to have a race on our skateboards, but we sat on them. I sat on my skateboard and the older lads, there was like two of them on each of their skateboards sitting on them. I won the race. I got to the bottom of the hill, but when I put my hands down on the ground to push myself up, and all the skateboards went like that, two of them, one after the other, and my fingers were just pulp. I cringe even thinking about it now. It's so horrible, and I was just screaming. It was terrible. But anyway, in the end, my fingers were patched together and I was alright. Eventually, I lost all my fingernails and one of my fingers is still a little bit bent. But the good thing was I wasn't allowed to play in the playground because my fingers were all bandaged up afterwards. And so for weeks and weeks, like I was at lunchtime, I was allowed to pick a friend who was allowed to stay in the class with me, and we would be able to like play the games in the class or like read the books or whatever. And And then I remember me and one of my friends were jumping from school table to school table on one of these days, and the deputy head walked past the class and went crazy. "You're supposed to be resting, and what are you doing?" We were jumping from desk table to table, miss. You know, but it's always kind of haunted me, that accident. And I realise it now. Later on in life, I was diagnosed with PTSD because this is really getting grim. Sorry about this, everyone. But because a friend of mine, my neighbour, who was one of my best friends, committed suicide, and I was there when it happened, and I was the person that had to kind of try and resuscitate him, and I was diagnosed with PTSD after that. And because of that experience, I know now what PTSD feels like, and I was able to look back and I was like, yeah, I definitely had it as a kid, but people just didn't really talk about that sort of thing, you know. It's anyway, sorry about that, everyone. Got a bit dark. Happy Halloween, everyone. Houses on the GFT. Oh, Alan, why was I not aware of this? House is one of my favourites. That's another one. Actually, whoever asked for recommendations of a horror film that really that's really underrated. There was a film from the 1980s made by Sean Cunningham, I think. Was it Sean Cunningham? I think it was. Called House, and it's a haunted house film, creature feature a little bit. It's a comedy, but it's scary in places. It's loads of great practical effects, and it's got George Wendt, Norm from Cheers. So what's there not to like? And then there's a sequel to House called House 2: The Second Story. See what they did there? Which is actually not connected to the first one at all. It's a completely different house and a completely different story. And it's not even, I would say it's a fantasy adventure movie, and it's wild. House 2 is wild and all over the place, and I love it. It's so over the top. It's about these two guys who are staying at this house, and they kind of resurrect or find the corpse of their great grandfather from the Old West, who's protecting a crystal skull, and there's an evil zombie, basically zombified man who was his partner back in the day, is coming back to get it, but like loads of people try to steal it. There's dinosaurs in this film. There's like, because there's like all these things inside the house with like interdimensional portals and stuff. House 2 is wild. House 1 probably a better movie, loads of fun, out and out horror comedy movie. House 2, adventure fantasy with a bit of horror thrown in, but really worth it. Both those movies. And then we don't talk about House 3 or House 4, because House 3 was a movie with Lance Henriksen. Nothing to do with the franchise at all. They just renamed it. It was a different film. It had a different name. They just called it House 3 for some reason. And it was about a serial killer who's executed, but then just before he's executed, or just before he dies, he says he's going to come back and basically mess up the arresting officer's life. When I think about it, it's really Cape Fear, but with a supernatural twist to it. But that was House 3, and then they made House 4. They brought back the original actor who played Roger Cobb in the first one, and made him his grandson. None of it makes sense, and it's more like it's a romance story, and it's just pointless. But House 1 and House 2, well worth your time. Go and watch them. What's everyone saying? Are there any Halloween TV specials that you enjoy? I'm trying to think. What I did love was, and I'm sure I've mentioned this before, is back in the early 90s, the BBC did like a Friday night and Saturday night, and it was completely dedicated to Halloween, and they had a horror host called Dr. Terror, made up in old ghoulish makeup. He's actually the actor who played Peter Cushing in Rogue Squadron. And he was brilliant, and they actually ended up doing Doctor Terror's House of Horrors or something. But there's a film called that, but it was Doctor Terror's. I can't remember the full title of it, but it was he was a horror host, and every Friday night I'd stay up with my dad and we'd watch two quite often terrible horror movies back to back. And I think that was how I got introduced to Kolchak. I think we taped the original movie, but there was also there are two films of Kolchak that I've never been able to see again, that were basically episodes that were edited together to a feature length, and that's how I first. But anyway, so that Halloween special, I suppose, in a way, like they had loads of great things. They had the whole thing about Tom Savini, and I remember they showed Bad Taste, and they showed the documentary about Bad Taste as well. How Peter Jackson made that movie and everything, which is really inspiring if you're like me and you want to actually break into making movies, which I've been saying for 25 years. But hey, never give up. But I'm trying to think of other like Halloween specials. My wife quite likes to sit down and watch. We used to like watching Castle. I think there's a couple of Halloween episodes on that sometimes get trotted out this time of year, and there's some Cheers Halloween episode. Frasier, I think there might be one. I remember there being some Roseanne. There was a Roseanne Halloween one that was great when I was a kid, but I never went back to it. What about you guys? Was there any TV specials at Halloween that you guys watched? Pontypridd. Fireman Sam. That's right, Alan. Pontypridd. I'm sitting thinking when someone said there's a Pontypool in Canada, but I think it's a Welsh town originally. I'm like, is that where Fireman Sam comes from? Because that would be hilarious if that were the case. Unfortunately not. Arson Sam. Mike, I feel like you always have a trauma to share. Do you mind that time I had fucking massive trauma? I probably, Stephen. I mean, the weird thing is, this is what I'm saying. Like, I had those experiences and then didn't really know how much they affected me, and then it was only really when I went into therapy for a year when I was in my mid-20s. It was only then where like. It was a bereavement counselling originally for my friend that died, and then the therapist was like, I think you need to keep coming. I think we've got past that now, but it's like, I think you've got other stuff going on. And I was like, yeah, probably. And then that's kind of when you realise. And any time there's been like a really traumatic death or something like that, it's I know that feeling now, but I think I'm able to kind of, as best as you can in these things, try to not end up with sort of post-traumatic stress, but that's easier said than done. I also sometimes think, like, I think sometimes people think I share a little bit too much online. I'm not someone that shares a lot on social media, but on YouTube videos like this, when I'm talking to all of you, I tend to like talk about things that are maybe a little bit personal, but That's just kind of the way. Oh, no worries, Stephen. Good night. Or did that happen ages ago? Sorry. But we'll watch your pumpkin fading from bed. Good night. Did Kiss ever save Halloween? That seems like something they would have come up with. Simpson Treehouse of Horror, yeah. Yeah, like that's... No, yeah, those ones were great. Especially the first few. I mean, I still can't believe they're making Simpsons. Eventually it became so about like celebrities joining the show for an episode and cameos and stuff like that eventually it lost what was magical about it. The Simpsons was so great because as much as it was over the top and it was a cartoon, it was about a family. It was that whole thing where they find what works for a character, and then the writers just then take it to the extreme, and the character loses believability, or you can't relate to them the same way anymore. I genuinely thought in the space of this live stream I was going to be able to paint this whole thing over once and then maybe give it a second coat, but let's be honest, that's not going to happen. But I am going to finish this bit. Oh, we're on the last wee bit. We're on the last hurrah, my friends. The last hurrah. Now, if there's anyone still sticking around, I might read the prologue to a novel that I've worked on. I might do that. If not, this is a test to see if I can do these types of streams more often. I should have used a thinner brush for that bit. Because I really would love to do live streams like all the time. It's just, it's especially like late on, it's difficult at the moment. Because then you got to get up with the kids, and it's like, because of my migraines and stuff like that, you just end up like, it's not worth staying up late, because then you feel horrendous the next day, and then that can bring on a migraine, and then it gets... Sorry, I'm full of complaints. Being a parent's amazing, but it is hard work. I mean, it's hard work making a pumpkin costume for weeks. I've not even started the body yet, so I need to get started on that in the next couple of days, because it needs to be ready for Thursday when my daughter's got her disco at school. We've got a backup costume though. This is what we're doing now. It's like, I'll make a costume, but I've got a backup costume. My wife bought it. It was like a spider vampire. Is that what it's called? It's a cool little costume. And if something went wrong with this, then the wee one would still have something to wear. Because I do worry that this is too heavy for her, but I don't think it is. I think it'll be okay. I'll need to put something in the inside. I'll show you that. I need to put something in the inside, so that I bought some. Where is it? I bought a roll of foam. Well, it's down there. You just have to believe me, because I thought I could put some foam inside, and so that it fits a bit snugly. So, because otherwise it's just going to bobble around all over the place. But it's fun doing this. I mean, as much as it's time consuming, like making costumes for your kids, I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. I remember last year I thought I'd gone over the top with her robot outfit, but like I say, she ended up winning best costume, and That's not what it's about. I don't expect that to happen this year for her, but it was just at that point we were quite worried about how she was getting on at school. You know, she'd been badly affected by the pandemic and not being socialised properly with other kids, and so she was shy and she just didn't really know how to make friends. And to see her go in, I watched her go into the hall, and she was like, all these kids came over to her like, wow, and they were all like feeling the robot costume on her and making a big deal. And then when she won the competition, it was just like, it was just really nice for her, you know, to have that a wee bit of the spotlight, you know, because when you're shy, sometimes you hate that. You hate the spotlight, but I don't think that's really her. She I think she quite liked the spotlight, to be honest, but she just didn't get it very often, so it was nice for her. The only thing I feel bad about is that she's not been able to help as much with this one, because I've been doing it late at night. It's the only time I've been able to really do it, so I'll need to try and let her help with the. I mean, I would let her help, but she's actually quite happy for me to do it. But I think that she should kind of do a little bit of it, even if it's just helping paper mache something, so that she can then feel that, you know, it's something that she made as well, and it's like a big, you know, it's an achievement for her. Oh, some of the new Simpsons stuff is good again. Is it? Is it, Alan? I don't know. I mean, I just. Oh, you hear some of it, but I don't have. No, I just don't know. Stream alert: Michael has less than 10 days to complete the painting of this pumpkin. The stream will not end until the pumpkin is complete. Yeah, can you imagine that? You know. I mean, this stuff does dry, so you probably could actually do this in one go, but I reckon it would probably take about, I don't know how many hours I've been at it now. Maybe it takes about 15 hours or something like that, maybe. I miss when the Simpsons used to parody old horror movies. Now they just do whatever's popular that year. Yeah. Still not seen that new Simpsons Treehouse where they finally parody Death Note. Disappointed that they wrote a new story for it instead of adapting the one from the comics, which was hilarious. There was a Spanish horror film I saw on Netflix a while back that I was quite impressed with, but for the life of me I can't remember what it was called. Was it La Llorona? I know that's. Is that a Spanish film though, or is it from a South American country? Terrible. I know that that's quite well thought of, and I think it's on Netflix. I don't know. Wreck is great. That's tremendous. That properly scared me, and it was so well done. So well done. I remember sitting in my old house with my earphones on at like 2 in the morning or something like that, watching that movie, and just being totally blown away by it. And the fact that, well, I suppose it's spoilers, but they bring in the question of there being like a supernatural cause for everything as well. Just was like, is this going demonic? This might be the best film ever. Not actually the best film ever, but it's really good. I remember Rec 2 being pretty decent as well. I've never seen the American remakes. I hear the second one isn't a remake of Rec 2. The Spanish one, I've heard that it's Rec 2. The American one's like set on a plane. I've had it with all these zombies on this. It's the one with the prison with a big lift in the middle that takes food from the top down to the bottom. Like everyone can choose to gorge themselves or leave something for the people below them. It's not subtle or anything, but it's very watchable. God, that sounds like torture. Quarantine, that's right, that's the American version. Yeah, I really, really, really enjoyed Wreck. I don't know though. It's like it's funny. There are some films that I really enjoy, and then I'm like, if I don't go back to them, and then there's some movies like American movies, for example, that I just watch probably 2 or 3 times a year. Especially since poor Mike Shank passed away. I was gutted about that. American movies well worth your time, anyone. If you haven't seen it, it's a documentary in the mid 90s following a man called Mark Borchardt from Wisconsin in America as he tries to make a movie. And it's just so, so great. It's one of the best movies I've ever seen. Certainly one of the best documentaries. I just constantly go back to it. Right, I think we're on the last slice. Unless I go back round and touch anything up that sounds dodgy, but you know what I mean. I'm just worried that I've globbed this up a bit in the back, but it doesn't have to be perfect, does it? I nearly bought an airbrush or whatever, like a spray paint. I was going to try and do that to give it like a proper sheen, which I've never done before. Alan, I don't know if you've done it, mate, but I did think about it. I need to figure out how to seal this though, because all of this will just run if my wee one's out and it rains. Where are we? Well, oh, sounds like the storm's coming back. Here's some howling wind outside. So, let's take a wee look. Let's take a wee look, everyone. A couple of wee bits at the bottom here to get, I think. And that where's I mean, paper mache. One of the things I love about paper mache is that I'm quite a haphazard creator. I make things kind of as I'm going. I'm not precise. Alan will tell you this. And it's really my approach to writing. It's my approach to making films. It's my approach to cooking. It's kind of scratch cook more than anything else. And I think that's what I love about paper mache is you just kind of make it up as you go along, and you can't really make a mistake. If you make a mistake with paper mache, you can just fix it with more paper mache. Famous last words though. You can't make a mistake. And then ruined. So the question will be tomorrow while I go back over this with another quote. I might not, because we don't have much time left. I need to get the body sorted, and I've got work to do, and I need to get the Talking Till Dawn episode out and done as well. It's interesting though doing this paper clay thing. So I paper mashed over a beach ball. That's what I did, and then I did loads of layers of that. And then once all that was dry and it was solid, I then made what's called paper clay. It was my first attempt at ever making paper clay, and it's basically like making a clay substance that you can sculpt out of. You can have like pulp paper or toilet roll or tissue paper, or you can even just take normal paper and cut it up and let it soak overnight, and it'll turn into sort of pulpy paper. And then you add PVA glue, and you have to add something called joint compound, which is for like drywalls. But I used calcium sulfate, which you can cook with, which is what's in a drywall compound, because it can have like it can have chemicals in it and things like that. So it's like it's fine for, I suppose it is fine for making masks probably, but it's fine for making an ornament or something like that, or a scary pumpkin that's just going to sit outside or whatever, but not for something that I didn't know enough about it to take that risk where I'd like use it and then my daughter's going to be wearing it for an hour or however long. So, but then you use that and flour and you mix it all together, and I put a little bit of oil in as well, and a little bit of dish washing up liquid, and then you end up with hold on a second, actually I'll show you. There's still some of it in the fridge. You end up with this stuff. So that's paper clay. First attempt at doing it, I don't think I got it quite right. It doesn't really feel entirely like clay, but it is kind of, you can mould it, you know. Oh, you can drop it the full out. You can mould it, and you can make impressions in it and stuff like that. So that's what I did. So I did a layer of that, and then I was going to do another layer, thicker layer, and sculpt it. But I decided not to because it was going to be too heavy. So what I did was, I thought, well, I want to do the lines, I don't just want to paint them on. I want that to be some sort of, you can see the section. So I had to very carefully, that's what I did last night, it took me ages, was basically cutting along the lines very, very slightly. So there are the actual grooves. Whether anyone will actually see that or not, I don't know. But it's all a learning process, I suppose. Do you know what I've got upstairs as well? I've got monster clay, which I would love to have a go at. I think maybe I do a lot. So I might do some more of these where I make something horror related. Anyway, I think wee bits here, probably bits that should be black, but never mind. What's a little bit of orange between friends? I'm really starting to sound like Bob Ross. There's no mistakes. Oh, there's a little tree in here. Little tree. Lost my mind. It is nearly 3 o'clock in the morning. Alan, are you out of bed yet? Oh, it's probably the quality of my typing has declined. It's probably time I went off to bed. Yeah, I know, mate. Well, I'm off now. Good night, all. Good night, Fracas, and good night, Alan. And right. Oh, I just got paint on me. Look at that. Lovely. An untapped niche, yes, Alan. And then you can do stuff. You come over and help me, and you could make a masterpiece. Well, still a tiny wee bit over here that's a bit white. Right. I think that should be. What do we think? That look alright? The top. I was going to do like a paper. I was going to paper mache like a green sprout at the top, but I don't know if I'll have time for that. I think this will look okay, won't it? Without that. Spooky out of 10. Thanks very much. Right. Lovely. Well, guys, I have thoroughly enjoyed doing this. It's been really, really nice spending the evening. I had a rubbish day with a migraine, and then it's been absolutely lovely doing this with all of you. Been really, really nice just to be making something and enjoying doing it. The question is, I probably should go to bed. I'm supposed to be working tomorrow. I was going to read. Hold on a second, I'll see. Maybe finish off with a little bit of a story. I was going to actually bring my typewriter over and show you that, but I think I'll do that in another video. Because I found these old thermal typewriters that are amazing. They print on fax paper without any ink. So I've been kind of working my way on these. So this started off as a short story, and then I started to realise it's probably a novel. So I've written a few chapters, and this is right now the working title is Boundaries. Whether that will change, I don't know, but I will read. It's 2 pages, so it won't take long. So I will. That's water in that cup. It's not gin. Water. I couldn't drink anything tonight. No, but that's migraine. Okay. So this is called Boundaries, and it's the prologue to the novel. And it's a first draft. Everyone's will be really rough. Standing there in the gloom of the midnight moon, Daphne watched the old rotten fence on the perimeter of the field. She remembered climbing over it when she was a child, its cold wood creaking beneath her feet and in her hands as she played on it, feeling as though it were about to collapse into a pile of mossy, wet sawdust at any moment. Some 60 years ago, her father had scolded her for climbing on it, saying it wasn't safe, but now he was gone. Now they were all gone. Daphne stood there in the warm glow of her kitchen doorway, but there was no comfort from the rustic surroundings or their personal histories. There was only the incessant reminder that she was alone, looking out at shadowy farmland that had once been the backdrop to her life, rich with family and joy. Now to Daphne, the farm was nothing but dirt. Feeling for the half-empty pack of cigarettes in one of the pockets of her blue jeans, she tugged at the pack and then turfed out a solitary white-filtered menthol, the only kind she had ever stuck by, and one of the only things in her life that had ever stuck by her. She placed it in her mouth and grabbed a lighter from her breast shirt pocket. She did not for 1 second take her eyes off of the fence out in the field. That's how they get you, she said to herself. She gripped the lighter tightly in her hand and waited. She wanted to see if he would move or not. But what was standing by the fence, if it could be described as a he at all, was not swaying in any way. It was unnaturally still, like an old black and white photograph frozen in time. She lit the cigarette and, as she did so, she heard the thing by the old fence finally speak. "Daphne," the voice said, vibrating strangely, "you can't stay in there forever." She didn't reply. She knew that was what it wanted. There had been many nighttime conversations with him. Each one had ended in the same way: manipulation. It wanted her to step out of the house at night so badly. The thing let out a groan, its voice quivering like a violin string stuck in putrid sludge. Daphne didn't know exactly why it did this from time to time, but she guessed it was out of a need for something it didn't have. Hunger might have been the closest thing to it, but Daphne felt that to attribute human feelings to the thing was a mistake. It wasn't human. It was only putting on that face to lure her out. Daphne drew on her cigarette, letting the glow of its tip illuminate her face. Let him see me, she thought. Let them all see me. Casting her mind back, she remembered the first time she had seen one of the figures on the farm. She was 7 years old at the time, and she had been playing near a pocket of woodland on the south side of her father's farmland. The sun was shining golden in the sky, and Daphne had a small woolen doll with a pink dress that she loved to play with. She had been caught in a dream singing a song with the doll when a voice replied, repeating the same words as her own. Daphne remembered the feeling of dread washing over her in that moment. She looked up and, to her horror, saw a flash of something white walking out of the tree line towards her. It reached out with bleached fingertips towards her and said, "Daphne." Daphne knew the voice. It was her mother's, but the face was someone else's. A woman with red hair staring at the little girl, smiling, but not a smile of love and nurture. It was a smile of hungry delight. Daphne didn't let it touch her. Even at such a young age, she knew what evil looked like. She ran for what seemed a lifetime until she found herself back in the protective arms of her father, of Dad. He was the only one who could make things better, who could make Daphne feel safe. The figure by the rotten fence let out a gasping groan again, and Daphne was suddenly back in the doorway of her kitchen, staring out through weary eyes at the shadows on her family farm. She tried to get back to that memory of feeling the comfort of her father's presence, but it was no good. She was back to reality, the reality that the thing out there in the bitterness of a silent night was using her father's voice. She knew it was only a matter of time until he showed Daphne his face. If the approximation were remotely close to her father's, she felt she would lose her mind. Daphne finished her cigarette, throwing it out onto a piece of lawn in the back. Part of her wished it would ignite and burn the whole place down. Finally, then, she would be rid of it all. But a deep commitment within her always stayed her hand from destroying the farm. It was a commitment to everything her father had built, everything she had looked up to and respected in her life. And if it was a place that was tainted by some unnatural agency, she couldn't give in to that. Not when that same evil had taken so much from her. If she didn't stand up to it, then it truly would have robbed her of everything she held dear, even her soul. The figure by the fence began to talk again, but this time it was gibberish. This too happened regularly. The words would become angry, garbled noises. There was always a watery croak to them, and Daphne implicitly felt that they could only hold human form for short periods of time. After that, they would have to return back to wherever they came from. She had been subjected to enough for the evening. Daphne turned and closed the door behind her. Outside, the muffled, vibrating voice continued, becoming more animated in seeming desperation. It was now time for the nightly routine. Daphne checked that the old farmhouse was securely locked. She had even fitted shutters to the inside of the windows after one of them had tried to get in weeks earlier. Satisfied that she was safe for now, Daphne slipped off her jeans and shirt and crawled into the empty king-size in her bedroom. As she drifted off, she thought about how that room had once been her parents' bedroom, then her older brother's, then her sister's. It was all hers now, since Kerry died. As she drifted off, she wondered how long it would be before Kerry, her sister, came back. So that's the prologue to this novel that I suddenly found myself writing. Like I say, it started off as like a short story, and then it kind of grew arms and legs. But I'm quite enjoying it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. I've really enjoyed tonight. Thanks very much. So thank you very much to everyone for listening to me prattle on and watching me paint this pumpkin. I'm sure the wee one will like it. So all of you, I hope you have a really great night. And now watch me as I flail trying to figure out how to end the stream. Aha, there's a button that says end stream. That'll do it. My pleasure, Meat Juice. Thanks very much for joining. I really appreciate it, my friend. And I really appreciate anyone who gives their time to listen to me or read my stories or whatever. It's really kind of you. Hello, Kitty fan. I really liked the prologue. Thanks for sharing. Oh, my pleasure. Thank you very much. Jeff. Good night, Jeff. And I will see you all soon in another video. Hopefully I'll have a Talking Till Dawn that is Halloween themed out before the end of the month, and maybe another narration, but we'll see how we go. Bye for now, and I'll see you all soon, and have a very happy Halloween.